Welcome back to Under Oath. Today we have producer and director Dan Farah. Dan, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
I got to tell you, Dan, I've been talking about this for a little bit. You just came out with this fantastic film, and The Age of Disclosure, which deals with unidentified UFOs, UAPs, whatever we want to call them now. And I'm always so amazed at how we're just not even paying attention to this. The average person's like going, oh, let's argue about what's going on in Minnesota. Forget we actually are being visited by people from other planets. And it's scary.
Yeah, it's a new reality. And I think this film is opening the public's eyes to the truth that's been long hidden. I interviewed 34 really high-level military, government, and intelligence officials, and they all collectively broke their silence to reveal that there's been an 80-year cover-up of the existence of non-human intelligent life. And on top of that, elements of the U.S. government that were involved in covering this up are in a longstanding secret Cold War race with adversarial nations to reverse engineer this technology of non-human origin. And the stakes couldn't be higher. It's a situation that impacts every single one of us. So the public deserves to know the base facts, the base truth.
So it sounds basically it's not to save religion. It's not to protect our feelings. It's all about technology that we're getting from these possible down ships and things like that.
Yeah, I mean, there's a significant technology race happening. A number of the film's interview subjects refer to it as the Manhattan Project on steroids. The Manhattan Project was our secret effort to win the atomic race.
I mean, we're not just talking about, you got, oh, this is an ex-Air Force guy. You got Marco Rubio. You got significant members of Congress. We spent millions on hearings just last year. I mean, why do you think we're just basically ignoring it as people?
Well, I think that there's a lot of reasons this has not gotten the attention it deserves over the years, but I do think this film marks a turning point. This film has gotten the coverage it deserves. I've been on CNN and Fox a number of times in the last month, Joe Rogan, a lot of other big platforms that are helping shine a light on it. I think the public is really having their eyes open to the reality of this. In the past, the people who have covered this up have done so for a number of reasons. We get into them in the film. One big reason in the past, I think, that the folks involved in covering this up didn't think the public could handle the truth. They thought it would, rock people's belief systems too much. It would be just too much of a shock. But I think we're past that. I think the average person can handle the truth on this, the basic facts, and deserves to know them. At the end of the day, our tax dollars are what this secret program is using to cover this up, and that on a base level just isn't right. The average person deserves to know fundamental truths like we're not alone in the universe. Fundamental truths like our country is involved in a longstanding UAP crash retrieval and reverse engineering program, and that we are in a high stakes race with adversarial nations. Another reason a number of the officials have told me they wanted to participate is, this high stakes race we're in, this technology race, we need all the bright minds in our country contributing towards it. And how can you win a technology race if 99% of the scientists in this country don't even know it's real?
It's so hard because we say we're ready for it. And I don't know. We have wars all over this planet that we are pushing religion. We're pushing everything. And if UAPs exist, and if they had anything to do with our development as a species, it kills every religion. I mean, how many people go to church? How many people go to mosques? How many people go to synagogues? That this could potentially blow away their complete belief system.
I mean, look, there's historically been a lot of concern about how the truth about this could impact religion. But, a number of the people I interviewed talk about how they don't think that will be the case, that, certain belief systems, can wrap their heads around this, and that, life life from elsewhere could fit the same religious beliefs. But we'll see. It's difficult for people to accept things that challenge their belief systems, their their worldviews. That's just human nature, but that's also how we evolve, right? We over the years, humanity keeps learning. There's more out there than we thought we knew.
Listen, I believe in this. I understand how we scam people. I understand. I've been a lawyer for 30 years. I've watched, laws get passed. I've seen the way government works, and it is spooky that when we're trying to push something, an agenda, I mean, our whole history could be changed by some of the information we could get. I mean, forget the technology. God forbid one of these ships drop and just lets us know everything and says, hey, listen, we've been here before. We were involved in your histories. We realized that we were dangerous to your. I mean, there's so many different things that could change the way our whole belief of the world exists.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, look, a number of the intelligence officials in my film feel it's important to share with the public what they lawfully can now, before something happens, and then they're playing catch up. There could always be that black swan event where a very public event happens where the truth is very quickly exposed to all of humanity in a single moment. There's also the reality that this is a global situation, and we could all wake up one day and Putin or Xi could tell the world the truth about this. So I think that the 34 people I interviewed are really brave and thoughtful, and took a lot of risk to step out of the shadows and share what they lawfully could now, because they felt that was important.
I mean, Dan, you've taken a significant risk. This is not, your career is on the line. You Ready Player One. I mean, you were involved with significant movies, and suddenly you're going to go, okay, we're gonna lean into the UAP thing, and we're going to do these things. And I'm sure your managers, a bunch of people in your life, go, hey, you sure you want to do this?
Yeah, look, it's definitely a departure from, in the last 20 years, I've been producing big films and TV shows, like you mentioned, Ready Player One, the Steven Spielberg movie. But, I grew up, my childhood was the 80s and early 90s. So I grew up on movies like Close Encounters and E.T. and TV shows like X-Files. And, like a lot of people around the world, that pop culture piqued my curiosity. It made me interested in this topic, and it made me ask those big questions like, are we alone in the universe? Does the U.S. government know more about this than the public does? My whole life, I've been fascinated with it, as a result, and watched every movie on the topic, read most books on the topic. And I always wished that a film like this existed, a film that only interviewed extremely credible people that have direct knowledge as a result of working for the U.S. government. And it just never existed. So when after Ready Player One, I was doing research for another project on this topic, dealing with UFOs, big studio film, and through that process, I ended up getting connected with a few intelligence officials who had worked on the UFO topic for the government. As I got to know them and form relationships with them, and they started sharing information with me that they lawfully could, it blew my mind how real the situation is and how real it's treated behind the scenes. And it was then that I kind of just flipped the switch, and I just decided, I've got to make that documentary that I always wish existed. There's a path. I had a path to do it. I had these relationships. They could open more doors for me. And so, it made a lot of sense to me. It's the film I always wished existed. The conversations I was having were, the information I was learning was information that the average person deserved to hear. And, I kind of took it as a personal challenge to pull off making this film that I always wish existed. And I made it for 3.5 years in secrecy, independently financed. Had to build relationships with every single person in the film and earn their trust. And I had a clear vision for it, which is just only interview people who have direct knowledge of this topic as a result of working for the U.S. government. Keep the conversations very sober and serious, no sensationalism. I socialized with all of them who I was interviewing, so they all knew who they'd be arm in arm with. Everyone stuck to the agreement of, just cone of silence around the whole situation until it's done. And, the world didn't know about it until we dropped the trailer online. We really managed to do it all in secrecy by doing it independently. It didn't involve any, big studio or network. Yeah. So yes, it was a departure from everything I'd done before, but it was also just right in line with my own personal interest and, something I wish existed. I just decided to bring it into existence myself,
You mentioned before that there's a possibility that our government and the governments of all these other countries might want to slowly ease us into this because of, we don't want to be just suddenly shocked by, hey, we have them. And no, we've told you about this and before. We knew this exists before. I don't, it's tough for me because there's a fine line between conspiracy and, yeah, this is actually true. And some conspiracies actually are truthful. I mean, the idea that, oh, we don't have UFOs, we have UAPs. I mean, what are you, stupid? And the answer is yes. We are absolutely idiots that we bought that they go, oh, no, we're not discussing UFOs. We're discussing UAPs. What's the difference?
Well, look, I think there really, sincerely, were valid reasons for using the term UAP instead of UFO. So one of the intelligence officials I interviewed, a very senior intelligence official named Jay Stratton, he was the director of the U.S. government's UAP task force, the largest whole of government investigation of UAP. When he was briefing senior leadership about this issue, he found it challenging to use the word UFO because there's a stigma in our country around that word, and it gets this like giggle factor. It just doesn't get taken seriously. And, it really prevented him from getting certain leaders in our government to have serious conversations about it. On top of that, a lot of the activity that is being seen is not only in our skies, it's also in our oceans. And, an object moving, in unprecedented ways underneath the ocean is not flying. So the term that actually Jay Stratton put in play to replace UFO was unidentified anomalous phenomena, which is a catch-all for all anomalous activity, whether it's in the sky, in space, or in our oceans. And it also avoids that giggle factor that came with UFO. And to his credit, it really did help contribute towards this topic being taken more seriously and sort of a point of view change on it. I don't think we'd be in the place we are now for disclosure if we were still using these words like UFO that have that stigma attached to them and that don't really appropriately cover everything. So yeah, I think it does make sense. Look, the reality is, one of the other things revealed in my film is that the folks who have been covering this up for 80 years are responsible for creating that stigma. Originally, they created it in the late 40s, early 50s as a way to deter people from looking into this. They wanted to stay in the shadows. They wanted to keep this all secret while they worked on it. And to be honest, it's kind of a genius plan. If you don't want the average Joe looking into something, convince the public they'd be crazy if they looked into it. Their reputations would be ruined, right? And that worked. And unfortunately, it kind of backfired because it got so ingrained in our culture and it got compounded over the years. And it got to the point where now the average person, including the average scientist in academia, doesn't think it's real, right? And that became a problem because we are in this high-stakes technology race with adversarial nations.
Yeah.
And it's challenging to win a technology race when 99% of your scientists don't know it's real, right? The analogy made to me is the space race. Would we have won the space race if Kennedy didn't step to the microphone and tell the United States and the world at large that the U.S. is determined to win the space race? We are going to put all our brain power and resources towards it, and we're going to win, and we're going to lead in space. He gave that amazing speech at Rice University. Would we have won it if that wasn't the context, if it was all done in secrecy? Most people say no, they don't think we would have. And so, this is a topic that has even bigger stakes, and it requires a lot more resources and a lot more brain power. And everyone in my film felt like it was in our best interest as a nation for the public to be caught up on these base facts and rally behind our government taking this more seriously and making it a much bigger national priority.
Now, when I see people like you and people take these big risks, whether it be in business, whether it be creatively, I mean, this was a monster risk to take, and now you've done it, and you're going, okay, do I keep leaning into this, or do I go back to fiction? I mean, I can't imagine your choice. This movie comes out, and you're going, okay, what's next? So I guess my question is, what's next, Dan?
Well, I'm still like in the thick of the release of this, but certainly I've considered whether to do a follow-up film regarding this topic. I'm involved in a lot of projects that I'm developing. We'll see what comes together next. I certainly want to see what happens on the government side in reaction to this. There's a number of senior members of Congress who are actively working on legislation, a bill they want to propose to further bring out disclosure. There's also a number of senior members of Congress who are working on trying to figure out how to offer amnesty to people that are remaining in the shadows on this, people who have worked on these secret programs and been involved in covering this issue up. Senior members of Congress want to create essentially a safe off ramp for them. A lot of people who've been involved in covering this up are currently terrified to step out of the shadows and share what they know because they think they'll end up in jail or worse. And I think enough senior members of Congress have realized that is the lay of the land. And so from there, you only have two paths. You put your head in sand and you just never learn anything new, or you create an off ramp for those people. You offer them some sort of real, not whistleblower protection, like real amnesty, and then they can hopefully share what they know, at least with senior members of Congress in classified settings. So I want to see what happens with all that. I want to see if we get to a moment where U.S. president is prepared to step to the microphone and confirm all this for the American people. I want to see what happens, and then decide, if it makes sense to do a follow up, and if so, what the focus of it would be, But I certainly loved this experience of directing for the first time. I loved making a documentary. So I doubt it'll be the last.
Well, I can't tell you, when I see somebody do something as brave in the decision you made, I mean, it's, it gives me faith in, a lot of people, the world we live in, and I can't thank you enough for doing it. The movie's called The Age of Disclosure. It's out right now. We have Dan Farah, who did a fantastic job, and I can't tell you, Dan, I appreciate everything you've done and look forward to talking to you soon.